What's going on, Sooner Nation? So, since official visit season is here, which we've kind of been talking about, you guys might have seen the news that Oklahoma lost the four-star defensive lineman Cole Breeler. And you might be asking yourself, okay, so what's next on the defensive line? And I want to kind of give you guys a couple reaffirm some things with the defensive line recruiting and kind of go back to something we talked about at the beginning of this cycle. But then also want to tell you guys simply this. I was wrong. I sat here and told y'all, I think Cole Breeler is going to be a Sooner. I think Cole Breeler is going to be a part of this class. This is something you should be expecting. I said all of those things. And yeah, I was wrong. I want to make sure that we're transparent on this podcast about those kind of things. Admit it when we're wrong. We're not going to hedge our bets. So jump in the comments below, join the discussion. Let me know what you guys think about Cole Breeler at Stanford, and who do you want Oklahoma to go get on the defensive line. This isn't going to be a very long video, guys, so stay with me here. We're going to start with probably what we talked about at the beginning of the recruiting cycle. This wasn't going to be a very deep defensive line class. Remember that. The talent it didn't really look like it was there. Obviously, there's been some late emergers, but you also have to think there's a number thing for Oklahoma. Oklahoma on the defensive end side of the ball, they're going to be losing Ethan Downs, Caden Woolard, Trace Ford, and I'm trying to think if there's somebody else they're going to lose. So they're going to have to replace at least 3 guys. They've already got Shield Knight committed. I think we all believe CJ Nixon's going to be a part of this class. We all feel really good about where Oklahoma sits with Smith or Rogbo. You feel good about where Oklahoma sits with Isaiah Gibson. Obviously, you got Cade Petchak coming on campus this weekend. So you probably could see Oklahoma take 1 to 2 more defensive ends, which I think could bleed into the interior defensive line numbers a little bit, just because, again, you're going to be short on some of those numbers this year. Additionally, though, again, there's not just a whole lot of talent out there that Oklahoma is really pursuing. Like, this is not a deep class on the defensive line like what you've had the previous 2 years. Now, we did have Christian Evans here on the podcast recently, if you guys remember him, defensive lineman out of Virginia. And for those of you who kind of follow recruiting, you guys might have seen, he took his official visit out to UNC, and they have really reestablished their relationship that they've had with him. They really made good on a couple things, and they set the standard for the first official visit, right? This is what I want to explain to people, though. Since we're heading into official visit season, you're going to hear a lot of really good things about players' first official visit somewhere, right? Like, oh, like they set the bar, or they set the standard, or something like this. And obviously, you're going to hear, well, this school might be the leader after that official visit, but don't follow the hype, right? I think sometimes we get too ingrained in, oh, this player had a really good time. They talked really highly about this school. And then we think they're the leader. But really, and I know Christian Evans came out and said, well, UNC is the leader. But again, like that was the first official visit. He hasn't really been anywhere else, right? On those official visits. So I want to see kind of what happens with him on some of these other official visits and see, does UNC actually stick, or does every place he visit, does that become the place that's the leader, right? Because I think we hear that a lot too. And then you've got the one and only Floyd Buchard. He's going to be on campus next week, I believe it is. And this will be his first visit to Oklahoma. This is one where I think you really want this kid. This is the talent that you want to land if you strike out on everybody else, because I think he's a guy that comes in and can plug and play right away. He's got the size. He's got the frame. Like, he could probably fine-tune his weight a little bit, but Floyd Buchard's got all the techniques and everything to be able to come into play for you right away. Todd Bates, Floyd Buchard, they have a great relationship. Again, you just haven't been able to get him on campus because, well, he's so far away. But you're getting him on campus for an official visit, and I think Oklahoma can try to close the deal next week. I really think that could potentially happen. And then you've got Maki Williams-Lee. Guys, remember, we just had him on the podcast too. Kind of catching a trend. We're putting out a lot of recruiting interviews for you guys, so make sure you hit that like and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of them. But he's out of the state of Georgia, and I told you guys, like, I really see a lot of Elijah Griffin in him. He plays at a higher level of high school football out there, and he's putting up just as good of numbers as Elijah Griffin. He's got pretty much the same intangibles. He just hasn't camped as much as Elijah Griffin. So this is a prospect that I think would fly under the radar. Todd Bates, Brent Venables, like, they've done their work with him. they've done the relationship aspect. Like when you go watch that interview, he talks about it, like the instant relationship that he was able to get with Bates when he spent an hour on the phone with him. That really went a long way. So if you're Oklahoma fans, I don't think you're worried about the defensive line recruiting just yet. If you go 0 for 3 here, maybe there's a cause for concern, but it's still probably a little too early to just be worried about it. So, guys, I want to hear from y'all. Jump in the comments below. Join the discussion. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on defensive line recruiting. Remember, we weren't going to go too long today, but you can jump over to the video below, and you guys can see the visitor list for this weekend and some of the BV camp lists.